Davis, and this is the Catholic Family Podcast, and we are very happy and honored to be joined by Dr. Peter Chojnowski. He's been on the show before. It's been a while since we've talked to him, and he's been doing some awesome things, as most of you know, at sisterlucytruth.com. He is really making waves lately in the traditional Catholic sphere with the whole concept, the whole theory that there have been two Sister Lucys. So Sister Lucy at Fatima. And we're going to ask the doctor to give us a very brief overview before we get started to talk about the actual topic of the day. And that is trying to, discuss, to refute, I should say, the video that was done against Sister Lucy Truth and Dr. Chojnowski himself by Christine Niles of, what's her website again, Doctor?
Church Militant.
Church Militant. Thank you. Jeez, man. Yeah. It's been a long day, but anyway, so we're going to ask the doctor. So Dr. Chojnowski, thank you very much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to your refutation. I think it's going to be pretty easy for you. I think there was a lot of very weak points from Christine Niles and some ad hominem attacks and things that were just kind of very strange that I found in her video. But before we get started, I do want to say thank you to her because she brought this topic to light for just that many more people. And I think that your evidence that you've helped to collect, it's just going to help to convince people. So thank you to Christine Niles for bringing more attention to it. And so Dr. Chojnowski, if you could maybe just really briefly, what is the Sister Lucy Truth issue?
Okay. The Sister Lucy Truth issue is whether there was one or more individuals who appeared before the public as Sister Lucy dos Santos of Fatima, the seer of Fatima, the one of the three seers who Our Lady appeared to in 1917 at the Cova da Iria in Portugal. If you look at what was supposed to be her entire life from 1907 to 2005, you find, if you look at the photographic, handwriting, and video evidence, it appeared to some people, and then when I looked into it, it appeared to me that there was some problem, that it didn't seem to be the same person who was appearing in all the photos, in all the videos. And therefore, it seemed to be as if there was multiple people, at least two people, who appeared as Sister Lucy during this time period. And the break seemed to be in around 1959. So when I was made aware of this situation, through the articles by Dr. Marian Horvat, who produced a series of articles on tradition and action, I consulted a few people that I worked with at Fatima Center in the past, and they said basically, well, prove it one way or another, find out what the answer is, find out what the truth is, but make it scientific, because there's so many opportunities for a scientific analysis with technology, with expertise that exists now. Prove it one way or another to everyone's satisfaction. So I took up that task and formed Sister Lucy Truth in late 2017, and we started hiring investigators, getting people to put together photographic evidence, video evidence, and even handwriting evidence from Sister Lucy dos Santos from the whole period of her supposed life, from 1907 until 2005. And we sent this evidence to various specialists, whether it's oral surgeons, whether it's forensic artists, whether it's maxillofacial surgeons, whether it's mathematicians, whether it's facial recognition technology experts. We sent it to all these people, including a Guinness Book of World Records winner, Lois Gibson, who won the Guinness Book of World Record Award for identifying the most murderers and solving the most crimes through her forensic art with the Houston Police Department for years, and in many cases, and international reputation. She solved over 1,200 crimes by her facial reconstructions, like from a murder victim's skull. She would create an entire face and help solve a crime. So, and she also had been schooled in dentistry and creating dentures in the 70s. So we sent our evidence to these people to make a determination based on their own expertise and their own methodology. What do you think about this? And our ultimate interest was whether these were the same persons, whether this was the same person throughout, because it should be. It was taken to be, and to our surprise, we found out that it wasn't. And after now, it's into basically 5 years of receiving reports of various kinds, which we've published all our reports on the internet at sisterlucytruth.com. If we look at that, we can say that there was a substitute, there was an imposter, and the question is, well, who was it? What happened to the original Sister Lucy? Those are things that we don't know yet, but we're trying to figure out. And it really does help that even someone as antagonistic to our entire effort as Christine Niles has proven to be, it's really helped that she's presented the whole story to a whole new, set of individuals who now hear it for the first time, hopefully look at our material, look at the details of the various reports, because they're not all the same. They don't report exactly the same thing with regard to each aspect of the analysis, but we're publishing them anyways. And the people can look at the report, analyze them, say, well, this is interesting, this is interesting. This report contradicts this on this particular matter. They can do that all themselves. And, we continue to try to bring out the material in various, as we're doing now, in various podcasts, in various, things that we've done ourselves with regard to video advertisements of our efforts. But she did a lot to bring forward the whole case. Of course, unfortunately, she's gone after sexual deviance in the priesthood, and amongst bishops, and followed that. But she did not give us an objective consideration. And that was disappointing, because ultimately this is going to face the whole world. Ultimately, the Vatican's going to have to respond. But of course, they realize that there's a problem. They know that there's a problem, and they're trying to cover it up in a very cheap and unprofessional way, which is disappointing. Why not see this? I mean, if you blow open the pedophilia scandal amongst the clergy, why not blow open this scandal?
Right. Well, to me, it seemed like she was a bit of a gatekeeper, as you say. I think kind of this, hey, let's do whatever we can to put out this fire. And maybe Absolutely. It's her personal feelings. I don't know, but I find it a little odd that sometime in the show she's saying that all of this is based on ideological opinions. And so it's all being ideological. It's like, well, even if that's true, her opinions were clearly ideological too. She went in to try to convince people that it wasn't true. It was not a fair journalistic approach, and that's very clear. I mean, anyone who's watched her video cannot say that was a fair journalistic approach, and so it was her ideology as well.
I absolutely agree, and we can look into the origins of Church Militant, but there was a lot of ad hominem attacks. There was a lot of name calling, a lot of red herrings. But let me just put this out. If obviously there was a serious problem, because even her viewers are saying to her, "There's a problem. Please deal with this. Please discuss it." If there's a serious problem like this, well, what would you do? All right, what would you do? How to answer the question, is it the same Sister Lucy or is it not the same Sister Lucy? How to answer that question. What do you do? Do you do what Sister Lucy Truth has done, namely get all together as much information as you can on the topic, as much evidence as you can, and place it in the hands of top-notch experts in their field, and top-notch people who use the latest technology to analyze these pictures, or people who appear in court all the time in regards to handwriting analysis and present the various handwriting samples through the years to an expert like this. What do you do? Do you do something like that in order to answer the question, is this the same individual? Or do you put an amateur in front of a screen for 40 minutes, which you spend half the time engaging in logical fallacies?
And quoting WebMD. She quoted WebMD. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. I don't want to be too uncharitable to Christine Niles. Maybe she's a fantastic lady, but I couldn't believe when she quoted WebMD, because I mean, in my mind, that's a punchline. Like WebMD is actually kind of a punchline, and maybe there's great people who work there. I don't know. That's just in my mind. I have that as like, wait, she just quoted WebMD when you, as you said, you have some of the top experts in the world in their field. And if she doesn't like their opinions, okay, I mean, that's fine. What you do is you're giving them the evidence. And if her opinion is, okay, that's not enough for me, fine, that's her opinion. But then, as you say, to go out there and try to convince people just based on her opinion is soft, very soft.
Basing it on her opinion. And also, I think it was an insult to the intelligence of her listeners, because, and it's also insult to the experts that I consulted, because she comes out with things like, look, people look different when they're older, and people look different when they smile, and people look different when there's different shading and lighting. Guess what? These experts
probably know that
every day of their lives dealing with this subject matter know that. And guess what? So does your audience. And they know that that's part of the consideration. Okay? They know that. And to act like our experts didn't know that or didn't bring that into the consideration, that's insulting to everyone's intelligence. And I was surprised at it. And but again, how would she go about determining this? And she made very clear at the end that she had no interest in actually getting into this, and none of her bosses at Church Militant have any interest in getting into this, because she's the rabbit hole and all this lingo that is meant to just dismiss arguments by making them seem foolish, ridiculous. Well, this is not foolish and ridiculous. The evidence sort of even shocked the experts, because they said, well, why hasn't anyone really, made this public prior to my looking at all these reports? Because it's sort of shocking. But when you talk to people, and I've talked to many people who have, before I even had any awareness that there was a problem, you talk to people like nuns and laymen, and they say often, well, in the 60s, in 1967, when I saw that Sister Lucy on the screen, I said, that's not Sister Lucy. Look at her chin. Someone who said that to me, and I just had someone the other day in the 90s, when I looked at video footage of Sister Lucy, and I had the new Sister Lucy, I said, that's not Sister Lucy. So there are many people out there who have had either professional interest in this topic, or just a passing interest in this topic. But my purpose was to settle down and actually go through the effort to bring, with the help of friends, who always stay in the background because that's the best place, okay, if they're going to fulfill their mission. Getting together material, which is not easy, putting it all together, the photographic evidence, and then coming forward, and then, contacting the specialists, arranging for them to look at the material, all, fundraising, because everyone has professional fees. If you ask someone to spend months or weeks, hours and hours and hours on something, and they're professionals, well, they have rates. So the fundraising to get this done, it's a serious venture. That the results came out in a certain way, well, they just did. And people can look at this, and many have, and said, well, it's obviously not the same person. And now I look at it and I say, it's obviously not the same person. In the beginning, I didn't know. I thought it peculiar to the extreme when I looked at those pictures published by Marion Horvat. I thought it was peculiar to the extreme. But when you get so many definitive reports, and she's, the whole show of Christy Niles was acting as if, I have some vested interest in this. Anything I believe theologically or ecclesiastically would not be affected by whether Sister Lucy did it or didn't do it.
Right.
Because, or was the same person or was a different person. Because those are eternal truths, and they're situations that you apply your mind to. And I did before I ever got into the whole Sister Lucy truth question. But so it was just an attempt, and for some people it worked. You throw out these labels that are unpopular with certain people, and she expects it to explain everything and kill off all interest in actually looking at the evidence.
She started the show, right? She started the show with, opening up with the Diamond Brothers, and we I talked about that a little bit before we started recording here. It's kind of like, that was odd. I mean, like, what is your affiliation in
Right.
any way to the Diamond Brothers at, the most Holy Trinity
none.
Seminary? It's none. And so it's like, why even bring it up? And you know exactly why to bring it up. It's just purely to try to smear you and to put you in
guilt by
That's exactly right. And it's like, that's how you start a journalistic approach.
If they want to talk to the Diamond Brothers, talk to the Diamond Brothers.
Right.
All right. If they want to talk to me about what I'm doing, talk to me. But notice they didn't talk to me.
True.
They never interviewed
Right.
me. If there was some problem or some something that came up that they didn't understand, of why I said something or how I'm analyzing something, well, ask me.
Right.
And I'll try to explain it. But they never tried to contact me at all, which tells you something very simple. They had no intention to actually analyze this from an objective perspective. It was a hit job on me. And, you know, and for some reason, the Sister Lucy truth question seems to be very poignant for them and something they have to squelch. Because they even, Kevin, because I was at this conference in Chicago a few weeks ago, they even sponsored this canceled priest conference in Chicago, okay, in which Father Altman said Jorge Bergoglio is an anti-pope.
Right.
Okay? And they knew he was going to say that. No doubt.
Right.
Because he's been saying similar things. Okay? But, so they'll sponsor that, but when I'm coming forward with oral surgeons reports that say, it is my opinion that Sister Lucy 1 and Sister Lucy 2 are not and cannot be the same individual. And I'm from the report now. Cannot be the same individual. These opinions are offered to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. I mean, well then, you know, what's the idea here?
Right.
Sponsor someone saying that. Well, why not look at this in a serious way?
I think it scares them. I think it scares them. I think it asks questions that are very hard to answer, and it brings up topics that I think are tough. Because I mean, because it's one thing, because it's a very common thing right now to say that Bergoglio is terrible. He's not the Pope. He's an anti-Pope. That's fairly common, actually, because he's kind of crazy. But I know it's unfortunate, but what's not as crazy is people going back to the 1960s and saying what was wrong then, right? That's a scary question for them. So I mean, if they were willing to do this, I mean, if you say, and I was talking to my wife about that, you know, if they were willing to bring, you know, I think when she first became public back, was it 67? She came out on stage with Paul VI, I think, if I remember correctly. And it just makes sense. It's like, okay, that was a clear statement of, hey, this is Sister Lucy, and you're going to believe it because she's on the stage with the Pope. And I think that, but if we believe, so if you learn now that she's not the real Sister Lucy, and that Pope Paul VI put her on the stage, woo, boy, you're starting to ask a lot of questions, and I think that's scary.
Even though he refused to meet with her, and he only spoke to her afterwards, and apparently the woman requested that they meet. Who knows what she wanted to speak about, but they actually met each other they spoke to each other for 3 minutes. That was the entirety of their interaction. And and that woman who came forward, that's the first time she's unveiled. And when we look at that woman, we're shocked to see not only the total facial difference between that woman and the woman that we know was Sister Lucy, who went back to Fatima in the 1940s and then entered the Carmelites in the 1950s. And not only is there complete facial difference, there seems to be an age difference also. The new Sister Lucy appears to be in my amateur judgment, about at least 15 to 20 years difference. The one in 1967 is clearly much younger than the real Sister Lucy. And you know, and not only that, but the behavioral difference, the total behavioral difference between one Sister Lucy and another Sister Lucy. So these behavioral differences are another aspect of our investigation. We have much video evidence, and we've, gone through newspapers and articles to find out things like, for example, Carlos Evaristo, who's very much against us now, the Sister Lucy Truth endeavor. Dr. Zugaby, who works closely with him, admitted in a Wander interview that when Carlos Evaristo interviewed the Sister Lucy in 1993, he was so shocked at what he encountered that he went to the Portuguese police and said, well, what's going on? This is not the real Sister Lucy.
Wow.
He was subsequently talked into it, apparently, that it was. And they referred him to Dr. Zugaby, who, never did a forensic analysis like we did. So, I mean, this is a long-standing situation, and what's often, preparing to speak to you today, I went through the reports again, and I'm shocked at how definitive they are. The facial recognition technology, every single one can clearly be read to say there's a different woman. There's some problem. There's two people. And I'll Christy Niles actually spoke to me. I could explain exactly what I meant concerning every report, because they're all different. They're all different with regard to their methodology, how they proceed. And there's subtle differences as to their findings. But overall, I mean, this is the clear. I was shocked at reading how definitive these reports are, because of their. I mean, I'm just reading now from Lois Gibson's report. Due to the various completely different facial structures of individual A compared to B, it is impossible these are the same woman.
So is Lois Gibson in any way affiliated with the Diamond Brothers? Just ask it. I mean, I'm wondering how she got on in this game.
Yeah. I mean, and then she doesn't just say it; she explains it. The forehead shows much different underlying frontal bones. The superciliary arch of B protrudes forward much more than A. The noses are a different shape, with B having a larger, rounder, and more downward angled tip, which cannot be explained by cartilage growth. Okay, dentures. One thing that they brought up. It's dentures. She got dentures. Obviously, the experts don't know that you can get dentures and you look totally different. Okay. Believe me, they know. They very often construct dentures themselves, so they know how people look. And for example, quoting Lois Gibson's report, dentures, should they be involved, would replicate the pre-existing dentition and thus not cause such a drastic difference.
Makes sense.
So,
right.
And so this is on and on and on and on. And they say no plastic surgery can change the chin from Sister Lucy 1 to Sister Lucy 2.
And so how do
surgery could do that?
How do you explain that then? Because that was one of Christine Niles, that was supposedly her home run, hit of the entire program. I think of the chin clearly being able to change through age. So it's, if you get older, your chin, can get longer or can get bigger. I mean, what's the truth behind that?
The truth is the opposite. The chin recedes as you get older. And over again, you see in these reports, whether it's oral surgeons, maxillofacial surgeons, forensic artists, Lois Gibson, they're always saying similar things. And the report that Christine Niles shows the two skulls, she uses that picture of the two skulls. In that report, it says exactly that. Lois Gibson was right. The chin recedes and loses volume rather than gains volume. So that's, talk about being deceptive. Talking about what did she call me? She not honest or something, or talking about not being honest. I mean,
So,
I
so
have
the,
to,
the the pictures she used were they of the same person? Were they switched? I mean, how did because
no, they
these
weren't of the same
they
person.
weren't of the
They were
same person?
skulls of different people,
Wow.
different women. They were skulls of different women. And, well, that's not what we're talking about, okay? And in the report, it says the opposite about this jaw, getting bigger. And over and over again, the experts speak about that this is a matter of bone structure. What we're encountering with these two women is a totally different bone structure. That which doesn't change with receiving dentures, which not even plastic surgery. This is in their reports. Not even plastic surgery could do this, make this woman look like this woman. So,
Well,
I mean, I'm
and
quoting again, the mental protuberance of B projects forward to a drastic extent, far different from the mental protuberance of A, which recedes below the bottom lip. There is no plastic surgery that could accomplish this, nor would it be offered or desired. So there's no plastic surgery that could achieve the kind of chin that we see in Sister Lucy 2, nor would it be desired, that kind of facial reconstruction. So, and listen, we asked Lois Gibson, because this is one of her specialties, creating, forensic age progression pictures based on the photos of the real Sister Lucy from as a child into the 40s, into the 50s. Show us what Sister Lucy is going to look like at the age of 60 when when supposedly appears with Paul VI in Fatima. What is she going to look like? And then what would she look like at the age of 80 when, she appeared with John Paul II so many times? What would she look like? Well, if you look at those pictures, they look absolutely nothing. Those drawings, they look absolutely nothing like the pictures of Sister Lucy 2 as she appears in 1967 and then into the 1990s. Nothing at all like. But you can clearly see, yes, this is what the real Sister Lucy, whose face had character to it. She obviously comes from Portuguese peasant stock, and she looks like it.
yeah.
And that's not, I mean, that's a compliment. So, I mean, we can talk about bone structure and we can talk about facial progression drawings from real experts, not from do-it-yourself forensic
WebMD.
experts. Yeah, by taking some young 20-year-old face of a 20-year-old girl and then making it into transitioning to an 80-year-old and see, oh, her face changes. Well, thank you very much. We can clearly see it's the same person anyways.
Right.
But guess what? We know the face changes. That's it. That's part of the consideration of every single expert who analyzes material. Some facial recognition technology does different things. They have a different algorithm. So that's why you put together various facial recognition reports and from various companies who have various techniques and methodologies. And that's what we've done. So I think we're being straightforward. I think we're being sincere. But at some point, you have to sort of draw it all together and say, wait a minute, now the investigation needs to take a step forward to find out what actually happened. who is this other woman? And what happened to the real Sister Lucy? When did it happen? And of course, the most interesting question, why did it happen? Which is the most interesting question there is. Like, why did it happen? I can guess. But and also there's this, it's called logical inference. If people, myself included, draw some conclusions from the empirical evidence that's presented, really certain empirical evidence that's presented, well, that's what the human mind does. And that's how investigations move forward. You make logical inferences and try to say, well, why would this have happened at this time? It's very interesting that we can pretty much place the disappearance of the real Sister Lucy to right before 1960, when the third secret was specifically supposed to be revealed. And Kevin, it wasn't just Sister Lucy in her convent that said it was going to be revealed and demanded that it be revealed at that time. The whole world knew it was supposed to be revealed.
Right.
My parents knew it was supposed to be revealed, and their parents, and they were waiting.
And I think it's something that we forget, right? I mean, I forget. Obviously, I wasn't alive at the time; wasn't close to be. So I don't think of that as a kind of a real event almost. It's so far, so long ago, but it happened. And as you said, I've also talked to people who were alive, or even older in 1960, and they said that was a defining moment. I've had somebody say that it was something that really stuck with them. It was like, as you said, they were waiting for it. They really expected it, and they expected it to tell them something really important. It was from Mary. Right. It's from Our Lady. So they thought this could change our lives. And then it didn't happen. And as you said, that was a pretty transformative moment. And then, of course, you had the Second Vatican Council and everything from there. But I think it's easy to forget how big of a thing that was.
And it's also important where the third secret was hijacked by the Vatican in 2000. Because what was presented, even though, and see, this proves that Sister Lucy Truth is perfectly upfront and desired objective answers to these questions, because we submitted what the Vatican released, which was supposedly the third secret. We submitted it to our handwriting analyst, and he said it was authentic. It matched the writing of the earlier Sister Lucy and her memoirs, which I didn't expect. But it leads me to think, because that it's a vision that she recorded clearly, but there's clearly something missing, or there's some kind of deflection or distortion going on, because that's clearly not the type of thing that was expected by the world and reported by everyone else. The third secret was supposed to be 21 lines. A cleric saw that it was when he looked through the envelope, and it started in a certain way. It was leading into the third secret from the second secret. Portugal would always keep the doctrine of the faith, and that clearly wasn't present in what the Vatican released. And also that they should make the whole third secret about the assassination attempt on John Paul II.
Strange, I think.
From what we found, not only did John Paul II hijack the persona of Sister Lucy, but also that was involved in the hijacking of the third secret and making it something that it really wasn't, making it about some past event, about persecution by the communists, rather than a real concrete testimony to what I think the third secret is about, which is the apostasy in the church, and warning people about the apostasy in the church. Because they asked the real Sister Lucy, well, why 1960? Why should it be revealed then? Because everything would be much clearer in 1960 as to what that secret meant. what happened after 1960. You had the modernist revolution in the church that we're still living through to this day. In fact, it's intensifying, but we can see that it began. And, if we know anything about Sister Lucy, and you and I know many things about Sister Lucy, she would not have stood for the hijacking of the third secret, the distortion of the third secret. No way. If I saw the Blessed Virgin Mary asked for a miracle and it ended up being the miracle of the Son, had our Lord Jesus Christ appear before me, see a vision of the Trinity, I would not be intimidated by any ecclesiastic of any kind. She would never agree to be silenced. And so I think that's why she had to be eliminated. And she was eliminated, clearly. In one way or another. How exactly, we don't know for certain. But that she was, in one way or another, we're certain about that.
Well, and I think it you see why people are starting to tune into your project and tune into the whole idea, because I think they're starting to see the connection. They see the foolishness in Rome and just a really just absolutely almost insanity that's coming out of Bergoglio and Francis, and I think that is making people kind of open their eyes and think, okay, what is the root of this? And I think that's connected with this type of thing. People are starting to see, okay, yeah, okay, and then they hear these rumors of a fake Sister Lucy. You're like, okay, wait, what's that about? And you dig into it a little bit, and you see, and it's really interesting. I'd highly recommend to anyone go watch. You don't have to watch the video from Christine Niles, but look at the comments. The comments are absolutely in favor of Dr. Chojnowski, not of Christine Niles. There were people who are even saying they're longtime fans. They watch every show of Christine Niles, but she's really wrong on this one. And it really was something to me that just looking at the comments is really validating to see that people aren't dumb. Yeah.
No, people aren't dumb. We also, along with all these scientific reports from top-notch experts, we advise the 8-year-old test. Like, bring your 8-year-old in front of the computer screen, in front of the pictures of the two Sister Lucys, and let them point out. Ask them if it's the same person. And even Lois Gibson, with all her technical knowledge and all her reports, and she gave us 4 actually reports, and she said, I could have done many more, but this is sufficient. Sometimes less is better. Mm-hmm. It's because it's totally convincing. She said even an 8-year-old can see the difference between these two people.
Wow.
So again, I think that we gained a new audience. I'm happy about that, but it's disappointing that Church Militant didn't take its investigative abilities jump into this. What happened? Finally, Emanuela Orlandi's case in the Vatican is being taken up. Years of, it's just a conspiracy and nothing, and the Vatican's taking it up and the Italian Parliament's taking it up.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you can take up that, why do this hit job on the whole Sister Lucy investigation? The only reason I can think is that people are really worried.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's anyone watching this, we appreciate you being here, and we highly suggest that you go to sisterlucytruth.com and support Dr. Chojnowski and everything that they're doing, because again, this is something that, as you said, this is something that you've kind of gotten past step one. You've gotten a lot of this information. You've gotten a lot of these experts proving the theory, at least from their perspective, that
yes,
there are two Sister Lucys. So yeah, what's next? And I think that's a good question. And I think that if you keep digging into it, as we know you will, you're also going to need help. So please go to sisterlucytruth.com, and I know there are ways to support you there. So I mean, it's one of those things that really, the more we bring to light the darkest corners,
the
devil can't hide anywhere. I think if you bring light to the darkest corners, then eventually the devil can't hide. And I think we're starting to see the devil come out in the open. And maybe
Right.
this is one way to help that out too, and to get people
Sure.
to see the truth.
We've never been afraid of truth. Catholics can never be afraid of truth,
Right.
because we worship truth itself. So we can never be afraid of truth. And the more truth we get, the more specificity we get, the better. And all those who are able to support us in the media, this should be a motion picture, really. The whole removal of Sister Lucy and what happened. It should be a motion picture, but that it's not shows me that a lot of people realize what a top secret, it is in for the Vatican, and it is a secret that's revealed, but we have to demand answers and keep the investigation going. Like, why couldn't they say, for example, well, all right, what would settle this is DNA evidence. All right, I'll go to my Vatican contacts and ask, can there be a DNA analysis
Right.
of the real relatives of Sister Lucy and this person in the grave at Fatima, between the two cousins? But nothing was. It's just a rabbit hole, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Right.
After spending 40 minutes on it.
Right. It's enough. well, Dr. Chojnowski, I really appreciate it. I think it's as always, it's been a pleasure to have you on. And I guess I'll give you the opportunity to have an ad hominem attack against Christine Niles. I'm kidding.
Oh,
I know
no,
you wouldn't do that. I know you wouldn't do that.
I mean, be honest, yeah. Just apply your skills as an investigator to this case, which is obviously real, and make the Vatican come up with answers. Don't just spout their line, because they've deceived us before, and they're trying to deceive us in this regard also.
Dr. Chojnowski, SisterLucyTruth.com. As always, a pleasure. I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime on the next big step, next big thing happens. I know it's coming.
Okay.
We always know it's coming. I've talked to you several times, and I always know it's going to be something new, something exciting, something fresh, and something that, it's just something that is searching for the truth and searching to solve one of the greatest mysteries, for sure, of the last 100 years. I mean, absolutely unquestionable. And we're looking forward to following everything that you do. Please, everyone, go to SisterLucyTruth.com, learn about it, study it, and support them so that they can continue looking up and really bringing to light this really incredible story. And again, bringing to light what happened to a wonderful person, someone who saw Mary and saw Christ, and who likely I don't doubt that she's a saint in heaven. So let's
No, she's promised heaven. She's promised heaven by Our Lady herself.
Yeah, so let's help the doctor to bring the truth to light for Sister Lucy. Dr. Chojnowski, thank you very much. Until next time, God bless.